Devils Chief Exec Paul Ragan, Head Coach Gerad Adams, got you together, guys, to talk to us about the latest situations with the club, plans for the future. So, Paul, you're first. What's your thoughts on the season so far and where we are right now?
I think we've had a mixed season. I think all in all, I think the team's been playing very well of late. The last 4 or 5 games, I think we've been very unfortunate. You know, we've dropped points on shootouts, as we know. 6 out of 6, I think, is not a record to be proud of. But it's you know, it just goes to show that we're not far away at all. It's consistency has been, I think, a bit of an issue for the team. But that said, we've struggled with injuries as well. And I think that on the upside, seeing the British players come through and our young kids come through, I think they've just, you know, we've seen boys become men really over the past over the, you know, the first half of this season. So it's been a good start. You know.
And if we look off the ice, then there's lots of speculation and talk about the Elite League as a whole and the Devils in particular at the moment. What's the current financial situation of the club, and how are we looking for the rest of this season, first of all?
Well, I'm obviously aware of rumours and we seem to have a lot of interest from other clubs in us at the moment. The fact of the matter hasn't changed to what I said on a podcast I did sort of a couple of months ago, that this is a 3-year plan for the club. We're on target to achieve that 3-year plan, which was significant losses last year because we started the season without any season ticket monies, as we well know. We don't need to go into that, but this year we'd hoped that we would sort of break even or make a small loss, and we will make a slightly bigger loss than anticipated. But you know, it's manageable in terms of the club as long as we're sensible. And next season we'll go on and go stronger further forward, which is I think putting us in the strongest financial position we've ever been.
So if we look at moving forwards, then the club is fine for this season. That's the first question.
Yeah, I'll make that point clear. I mean, the club is fine this season. You know, we will not finish the season. I mean, I've not really heard anyone say that to me directly, but I hear there are rumours that the club's not going to finish. The club's going to finish the season. You know, that there's no doubt about that. But you know, when crowds are down and sponsorship is down, like any business, you know, you have to be prepared to sort of tighten your belt a little bit. And you know, if we're going to make losses like we are, then we're going to mitigate those losses to protect the club for next season. And the one thing that I've been absolutely focused on achieving this year is to ensure that when we launch the season ticket monies, the season ticket offering on the 1st of March, then all that money is going to be spent for next season. And that's the first time it's probably happened in this club for years and years and years. And it's an important part of our model going forward. Stability is about getting the money for next season, not getting the money to pay for last year's issues, which is something I inherited and something we've had to, you know, learn the hard way with, really.
Now, could potentially be a huge topic, so as briefly as you can, talk to us about the situation for the new stadium whilst we're talking about the future.
Yeah, absolutely. At the moment, absolutely bang on. I mean, if I was in the shoes of you know, any of the big 3 out there at the moment, I'd be trembling in their shoes, because we have a huge opportunity coming our way. The stadium, I spoke to the chief exec literally only a couple of weeks ago, albeit via email, and it's on target. The tender, I believe, goes in this week. The decision is made mid-January, and then it's all systems go. Our position is protected within the tender, so that it means that we do get our ice time, we do get facilities that we desperately need that we don't get at the moment. So I think all in all, at this point in time, as long as the council honour what they have set out to do, and promised us that they will deliver, bear in mind we're 7 years, going in 7 years now without our actual rink, then we will benefit like those others do with a stadium to be proud of. And I think, you know, watch out everybody else, because Cardiff's coming.
So just having the building obviously doesn't guarantee a good relationship or a good situation, but you're happy from conversations you've had that the Cardiff Devils would be in a position to operate a successful club in the new arena?
Absolutely, no doubt whatsoever. The reality is that once we get that facility, and just remember where we are at the moment, we're on the end of the earth, we have no footfall, you know, logistically it's a disaster zone, buses stop at certain times, we can't get there, you know, it's cold, it's windy, it's rattly, but hey, you know, we put a great atmosphere in there. Just imagine what we could achieve if we had a stadia like some of these other clubs we wouldn't be going 40, 50 years without winning a league title.
Gee, we'll give you a chance to come back at the shootout comment in just a second, but before that, we know we've had a tough start to the season. Having 9 or less imports, how big an effect has that had on the team's strategies, and how have you coped with that?
I think it's had a big impact, especially when we're playing, the teams that have a little bit bigger budget. And to be fair, the teams, the Sheffields, the Nines, and Belfast, they've got tremendous teams this year. I think they've done very well. So it's a little bit difficult for us, where we're trying to compensate and play a little bit more style, a defensive style, to keep the puck out of our net, to give ourselves a chance to win. And there's a few fair guys in our team who had a little bit of a slow start. But I think that followed suit with everything. It started a little bit slow in the summer, and it's starting to pick up. So I'm really happy with the performances we put in. We've dropped a few points here and there, but a few other teams have as well.
Fixtures haven't helped you either. How big a deal is it to play the top teams so often? And conversely, might you get a bit of relief playing some of the teams around us or beneath us towards the end of the season?
Well, I think it's obviously a good benchmark to play the teams above you. I think we put in really good performances against them. The results haven't been there, but it's also going to be almost a bigger challenge to keep the same performances against teams who are maybe below us in the standings. And it's a difficult situation to get in that way, but you do have to alter your styles playing against different teams. You do have to adapt to the way they penalty kill, the way they forecheck and stuff like that. So our schedule definitely has been front loaded with teams above us.
We've mentioned injuries, and obviously the most obvious candidate there has been unfortunate. Mark Smith, who's had a long-term injury, quite a serious one, is out for the season. We've been taking care of Mark so far. Are we going to continue to looking after Mark Smith this season?
Yeah, I mean we're gonna honor his contract. I think the biggest thing is to get the confidence back from the players, from the office into the players, the off ice into the on ice, and big thank you to Paul on that. And it will help my job, and it'll help the players play a lot more strong style.
Are the needs of the players being met to your satisfaction with things like equipment and things that they need to play the game?
Yeah, absolutely have. I mean, it's always, I like to spend money. Paul doesn't want to spend money. That's how the relationship works. But, all the players' needs have been taken care of, yes.
So what's your feelings about the relationship with Paul in particular, but also the off-ice team in general?
I think it's good. I think, especially the last couple of weeks, I think it's gotten a lot stronger, just because I knew some of the positive things that were going to happen going forward. I mean, it's always been a good working relationship between Paul and myself going forward. And I do want to be here and part of the bigger plans. But the biggest thing was to be able to sustain this year and maintain what we have. And that's a strong home record, good entertaining style. And like you said, I mean, the 9 imports thing has been a little bit difficult, but the off-ice, on-ice relationship is strong.
Let's talk about these shootouts then. What is it with us and shootouts?
I don't know. I think it's just a funny thing. It's a confidence thing. You just can't coach it, can't bring it out in people. And we do have the skill to be scoring the goals. I think Stevie Lau's done a tremendous job. But it's just a little bit of a mindset. And I think going forward with our shooters on the shootout, I think we'll just designate 3 or 4 guys and just have them go through it and just make sure they know they're going, in which order they're going, and maybe just keep it a little bit more simple. And the ice surface in the Cardiff Bay sometimes isn't that kind, so maybe we should shoot a little bit more.
Now, the big question on everyone's lips is, are we going to get a new player?
I think right now, I think the biggest thing is, with what's come out from Paul lately, is to be able to maintain what we have. I mean, a few weeks back, we were looking at possibly cuts like other teams were in the league. So right now, I mean, we're going to maintain what we have. There's, Paul's giving me the free will for some from player movement, whether that's to replace a current guy we have and or look at bring a new guy in. As of right now, nobody will be in the next near future, but that's only due to the fact of my choice. I feel we need to get the right player in at the right cost. I think guys are a little bit overpriced right now, or they're not what we're looking for. So I would expect in January, the first week of January, there'll be more player movement in Europe, where the right guy might come up. But as for right now, the biggest news is we're going to be able to maintain what we have. I like what we have, and I like the 9 that we have. But then again, there are a few guys that need to pick it up, and if they're not going to pick it up in the next couple 3 weeks, I have the free will to bring somebody in, which a few weeks ago I didn't have that.
If, without asking you to give too much away, if you were to bring in an additional player right now, what kind of guy would you be looking for?
I think we need to add a little bit of offense. I think our defense and Stevie are playing, fine, whether it be, an offensive defenseman or a winger up front. I think, like we talked about, I think our young British players have put me in an awkward position not to play them, which is a good thing, what you want from your players as a coach. So, it'd be something to give us a little bit more speed, a little bit more offense, and probably a little bit more energy too, so the guy would have to be a little bit more physical.
Does it frustrate you when the guys are working against some difficult conditions and battling so hard that maybe we have seen a drop in attendances, and is it something that you would really like to see alter?
Well, obviously, I mean, we've got such a good atmosphere in our rink. People say what it is and how it's set up, but it is a great atmosphere when it's full. And it's obviously a concern for the guys too, because they can look around, they can see the numbers not in there, and the guys are trying their best at all times on the ice. And the atmosphere, that when it is full, we really do feed off the crowd. I think especially for that game on the 23rd, obviously this weekend as well, you get a little warm up for the fans, but we need them there on the 23rd. We need to win that hockey game. We're gonna win it, but it makes a massive difference to have a full house in Cardiff.
We've seen a lot of player movement around the league with other teams, so the so-called big three, the top teams. But yet Cardiff have given, as you say, a great account of themselves every time they've played them. Do you feel confident that if we get a full building on the 23rd, we win that game, that we could make a good run at the Challenge Cup and then the playoffs afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, looking at our last game against Sheffield, I think we outplayed them, outchanced them, in their rink. We've got a good record against them at home, and, there's no reason why we can't do that going forward. But, obviously the playoffs, and it's a little bit on the back mind right now, 2 games this weekend, but that 23rd one, it is the massive one. We can't win the Challenge Cup without beating Sheffield on the 23rd.
Paul, going back to finances and attendances, is the pricing structure of the tickets something that you're looking at possibly reviewing?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because we're trying to drive revenue, we're trying to improve what we have on the ice at all times, if possible, but at the same time, we're impacting, like many sports are at the moment, and many clubs in the league are, and most of us are suffering from a decline in crowds with the current climate. But that said, I will always listen and make a judgment call, and I've taken the view that from the 1st of January we will be reducing our ticketing prices. So we'll be running at £15 for walk-up or pre-book. Concessions will drop to 10 and child prices will drop to 5. And we will run with that from January, February, March for the second half of the season. And I think, that's going to be, we'll cover that off more in the forum on the 9th, I think, of January. But it's a time really when, for me, I'm all about, if things aren't working, you make a change. You don't just plod on. And for me, things aren't working the way they are. We have to recognise the current situation and we have to make changes. And this is one of those changes that's very brave on our part, but we certainly hope the fans get behind us and really support us, because as G said, we need that stadium for them. Every time we have people going for the first time, that I've never met anyone who's gone, it was all right, it was a bit boring. It's always a sort of an ecstatic response that I seem to be facing, and what a great time. So, we'll do it, we're going to run with it, we'll run with it for 3 months, we'll see how it goes, and that will obviously have an impact on what we do next year. If it works, we'll keep it at that price next year.
Great, thanks guys.